Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the types of neuron. So first of all about introduction of neuron. So what is the neuron? So neuron or nerve cell that is defined as structural and functional unit of nervous system. Now neuron is similar to any other cells in the body, having a nucleus and all other organelles in the cytoplasm. Now there are about 10 raised to 11 neurons that are present in the human central nervous system, and its main function is to receive the various stimuli and transmit the signals to other neurons and tissue. The neuron is an excitable cell where message transmission occurs in the form of action potential. Now in this figure we see this is a neuron and this is a axon and this is a dendrites and this is a soma or cell body. So dendrites that receive the message from other cell, and this one is nucleus. So this one is axon. Okay, so what are the function of axon? So it passes the message away from the cell body to other neurons. Okay, so dendrites that receives the stimuli or receive the messages from another cells, and axon that passes the messages away from the cell body to other neurons, muscles or glands. So these are the terminal branches of axon. This one is myelin sheath that covers the axon of some neurons and helps speed neural impulses. Okay, so this neural impulses is a electrical signals traveling down the axon. So in this figure we will see about the action potential. Okay, so which scientists are contributed? So there are two main scientists that are contributed are Professor Camilo Golgi and the second one is Professor Santiago Ramon Casal. Okay. Now, however, it is different from other cells by two ways. Neuron has branches or processes that are known as axon and dendrites. Now neuron that does not have centrosome, so that neuron cannot undergo the division. Then classification of neuron. They are classified by three different methods depending upon the number of poles, depending upon the function, and depending upon the length of axon. Now, depending upon the number of the poles, neurons are divided into three types: apolar neuron, unipolar neuron, bipolar neurons, and multipolar neurons. Now, this one is apolar neuron. Okay, so apolar neurons have no processes like axon and dendrites. Then unipolar neuron. So unipolar neurons are the neurons that have only one pole. From a single pole, both axon and dendrites arises. And this type of the nerve cells is present only in the embryonic stage in human beings. And in the adult human, such true unipolar neurons are not commonly seen, but they are found in the mesencephalic nucleus of the fifth cranial nerve. So in short, unipolar neurons have only one pole, and from a single pole both the axon and dendrites arises. Then bipolar neuron. So bipolar neurons has two poles and they are known as bipolar neurons. An axon arises from one pole and dendrites arises from another pole. So in this way, this type of neuron has two poles. And the example of the bipolar neurons are they are present in the retina and in the vestibular ganglion, in the spiral ganglion of the cochlea and in the olfactory neuroepithelium. Then multipolar neurons. So as the name suggests, multipolar neurons are the neurons which have many poles. One of the poles give rise to axon and all other poles that give rise to dendrites. Okay. So one pole that gives rise to axon and another poles that gives rise to dendrites. So a few common types of the multipolar neurons that are Purkinje cells of cerebral cortex, pyramidal cells of motor cortex, small neurons from the spinal nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, motor neurons from the ventral horn of spinal cord. And now usually the shape that depends mainly on the number and position of dendrites. So these are the figure of types of neuron, unipolar, bipolar and multipolar neurons. Then another one that is depending upon the function. So depending on the function, the nerve cells that are classified into two types, motor or sensory neuron, efferent neuron or afferent neurons. So first of all, motor or efferent neurons. Motor or efferent neurons are the neurons that carry the motor impulses from the central nervous system to peripheral effector organs like muscle, glands and blood vessels. Generally, each motor neuron that has long axon and short dendrites. Then second one is sensory or afferent neurons. Sensory or afferent neurons are the neurons which carry the sensory impulses from the periphery to central nervous system. Generally, each sensory neuron that has short axon and long dendrites. Then, depending upon the length of axon, the neurons are divided into two types. Golgi type 1 neuron, Golgi type 2 neuron. So, in Golgi type 1 neuron that has long axon and cell body of these neurons is in the different parts of central nervous system and their axon reach the remote peripheral organs. Golgi type 2 neurons, this type that has a short axon and these neurons are present in the cerebral cortex and spinal cord. Thank you very much.